Straight facts. Big Steve back on the show again, fresh after another Man City win, as if we were expecting anything different. It was, listen, I enjoyed the first 45 minutes. There was a bit of jeopardy, but we knew what was coming. We're going to go through that. We're looking at Man United's woes with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer coming out and exposing the club big time. The day that we played Bayern Munich, many people expecting United to get smashed tonight. We're looking at that. We're looking at Chelsea's situation. Big Steve's going to give us his opinion on their relegation form for the past 37 games. And we're looking at Arsenal. Are they ready to finally, maybe, become European champions? We want your thoughts and feelings. Hit like and share buttons. But Steve, you've been a busy man. I've seen you rubbing shoulders with a lot of celebrities these last few days.
Yeah, I was at the Alan Brazil golf charity golf day, Monday, Tuesday, Centurion. Was partying with Puff Daddy's son at weekend, King Coombs, whatever he's called. So I was partying with them. But nah, it was. I need to go. I'm glad I'm home now. You know what I mean. But the golf day was for a good cause, charity wise. Harry Redknapp was there, Ray Parlour, Alan Brazil, Jamie O'Hara, the usual. But it's a good little event. It's nice, raise a lot of money for charity and stuff. I just missed the game last night because I was down there, but it's for a good cause. But yeah, I'm ready for it now. Forest at weekend, Newcastle in the Carabao Cup next Wednesday, Leipzig coming up away, so it's all going to start kicking off soon.
It certainly is that the football's coming thick and fast now. But essentially, what I'm hearing is that you're like a proper celebrity now. Celebrity golf days, chilling out with Puff Daddy's kid or P. Diddy or whatever his name is now. Like Big Steve, proper celebrity now, bruv. Like, could we see you on Strictly Come Dancing or I'm a Celebrity, get me out of here soon?
I'm ready for it, mate. I'll go in the jungle, no problem at all. Get me in there. I'm having it. Big Steve, first football YouTube guy in the jungle. Let's make it happen.
I think you'd win. I'll
eat anything, me. Spiders, worms, slugs. Don't give a shit.
But I think you're so level-headed. You're so cool. You're so sound with everybody. I think you'd win. I think the public Strictly Come Dancing. I'm not too sure if you got them snake kicks.
Ankle. I've got plates and pins in the left ankle. I broke it 6 times, my ankle, when I was playing football. Retired at 24. Can't be dancing about getting spun around some ballroom. I'll end up with no ankles left.
I know, and I don't think the missus would be too happy because I swear like 60% of the contestants that go on there leave their other halves to be with their dance partner.
That's another thing. Yeah, it's a curse, isn't it? Yeah, but yeah, it's crazy, man.
Yes, viewers, hit like buttons. Let us know. Let us know what you would like to see Big Steve eat. Maybe we can arrange it on the terrace as a bet one day. If he loses something, he'd have to eat. Let us know what you'd like to see him eat if he can eat anything. Let us know in the comment sections below. But more turmoil today. More turmoil today at Manchester United. And I know you're ready for this because when you messaged me earlier today, you're like, are we going to talk about how shit United are? And of course, I would never duck a conversation like this. We'll get onto the Bayern Munich game later. But as we saw with Moyes, LVG, Jose Mourinho, the NDA has now run out and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is allowed to talk about the good, the bad, and the indifferent at the club. And he's been quite candid, really. He's spoke about his mistakes in terms of signing Ronaldo. He said it was hard to refute, but it ended up being a poor decision. He spoke about how his time at the club, he felt there was elements that were good, but he didn't win a trophy, so it won't be remembered how he wanted it to be. And I thought that was really good. I liked hearing that because that's him reflecting and saying, I've made mistakes. But some of the other information that's come out, mate. So the Glazers limiting him to just three new main signings every summer, as an example. He didn't know about this ahead of time, but the fact the limit's there for me is something people need to. That's not a defense of Solskjaer's time, but the practices at the club. He spoke about the signings of which they wanted that the club never went and got. Erling Haaland before he even made his debut at Salzburg. Declan Rice when he was very, very cheap in the early days at West Ham. Even Moises Caicedo, but the club felt that they needed players that were ready there and then. So there's 3 more that the club could have turned to. And crazily for me, that the behind the scenes things going on, some people not living up to their self-image. He says he won't name names. There was 2 players that turned down the opportunity to be captain. There were some that wanted out for a long period of time who refused to play or train because they were forcing their way out. The club, this is not a defense of Ten Hag now. There's definitely mistakes he's made. Ole made mistakes. Jose did. LVG did. But every time a manager's sacked, these stories are protected for a while under NDAs, but then come out. And they're so familiar every single time, mate. Every single time, the same nonsense. Managers not getting what they want, restricted on how much they can buy, player power dominating those dressing rooms. I just don't understand how Man United, I don't know what you think, are ever going to get back to any kind of normality around competing if they don't fix all these problems first, mate.
Yeah, you listen, when you see things like that coming out, and Solskjaer, to be fair to him, is a United man, you know what I mean? He's a nice guy. He's probably not intended to hurt anyone, but he's probably just getting it out there that these problems exist. If people are turning down the chance to be Man United captain, either they're an absolute shithouse of a player and they've got no bottle, or they just don't want to be getting the blame for everything that was coming. They must be thinking, nah, I ain't putting my name to that. You know what I mean? I want to be out of there. But it's stinky at the minute there, and everyone's putting the boot in. But all this signing up for, you can have 3 signings a season, all this. I don't know why Ten Hag signed up to that, because his reputation at the time was he was the best up and coming manager in Europe, the way he had Ajax playing. And a lot of people advised him to stay away from the United job. He probably, looking at it now, I think he's doing a good job, and don't think he's ever going to slag the club off. But it's the club inside. Like we've talked about it on here before. It's almost boring now. We know the chain of command is not good. We know it stinks. There's football people not there. There's business people running the show. But where does it end, and how does it get solved? I mean, you've got Arnold coming out today saying that he thinks they're catching up on Manchester City. I don't know what planet he's living on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he says here, Arnold claimed that Man United are getting closer and chasing down Manchester City, who says he says set standards across Europe. United are encouraged by Ten Hag's first season, plus the summer window, and change often requires pain before results. Just keep Man City out your mouth right now. Why apply that additional pressure to the manager and the team? It's crazy.
Well, that's what he's doing. And like you say, I said last week on this show that you get beat off Brighton, and everyone went mad. But I knew it was going to happen. I knew, you know what I mean? People need to start, Manchester United supporters need to get real now. They need to stop clinging on to the past. Stop telling everyone how big you are. Stop telling everyone how Manchester is red. Stop telling everyone that Man City are living in your shadow, because it's quite good and refreshing in the shadow at the minute. We're enjoying life in the shadow. So instead of putting all the energy onto us, get something sorted out. You're the biggest club in the world, apparently, even though you don't act like it. You've got more supporters in the world than anyone else, apparently. But you can't get rid of these parasites that are draining the life out of your club. When you sit back and look at what United have become from what they was, it's embarrassing, man. It's embarrassing. I don't see it getting any better. I was having a conversation yesterday with an ex-player. I'm not going to name him. And I said, any up and coming young player in Europe now that's got a decent agent will not be signing for Man United after all this shit that's coming out. If I've got a player and Man United ring me up and say, do you want to come to Man United? Man United 10 years ago, I'm saying, fucking hell, man. Man United's on the blower here. We're living the dream. Now, I'm saying, do not go anywhere near that gaff. Because look what's happening to the players. Sancho, they're leaving. They don't want to be there. Apparently, I got told that Sancho's training in the academy, but they haven't got a coach specified to train him. So if there's somebody that's not busy, then he does ball work with him. Other than that, he's running around on his own. So
it's ridiculous.
It's a shit show over there. You know what I mean? They were. It's just not going to get any better. Listen, I'm a City fan, and I'll be honest with you, I don't give a shit. I hope it continues. I hope the Glazers continue to make it rot. I hope it falls down. I hope they keep crying and telling me Manchester is red because we keep winning. And that's not me being a knobhead. That's me being a City fan. And Man United fans will wish that on me. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to sympathise with them. They're getting the medicine. Far too long. These Glazers have had it too easy. You know, you can stand outside a mega store all you want with a bed sheet on kit launch day and stop 40 people buying the kit. They're buying it online. You know what I mean? They don't care. And it's just a fucking shit show. They're going to get their ass handed to them tonight in Germany. Bayern Munich will beat them. There's a lot of players don't want to be there. Next summer, Ten Hag will be gone. He won't want to wear that. Certain players will think, what the fuck am I doing here? And I don't see an end to it. I don't see it getting better. Trust me.
Mate, do you know what's crazy about it? We'll get onto the game. But everything you said is right. I've had rows with Lee Gunner about this, rows with other Man United fans about this. They are going to the same default response. Sack the manager, sell Bruno, sell Rashford. That will fix us.
It won't.
And I understand, you know it won't. And this is the problem that I have. I can review an individual match and say the manager shouldn't have gone to a 4-4-2 diamond. For me, should have started Palestri. I can do that, and you can criticize the manager for the mistakes that he has made. We've got big injuries at the minute. The injury and absent list at Man United is ridiculous. 50% of our strongest 11 are all out injured, and 11 players in total, a lot of them that would be used in our first team. That's one element of a problem that we've got that fans are overlooking. And I think that is an issue. I think if 6 to 7 of any one of the top 6 main starting 11 were out injured, there would be issues. But you add then in players that don't want to be there. You've got recruitment staff kicking off because their picks are not being purchased. With all due respect, they wanted Rabiot, not Casemiro. They wanted Pau Torres, not Lisandro Martinez, as an example. They didn't want us to sign Amrabat, who I personally think is a very good player. Again, they wanted us to go back in for Rabiot. You've got agents that are no longer having their pockets lined by the club, angry that Ten Hag was getting his agency to do the intermediary work on these deals. Now, there was a lie that was spread by them that we're signing all the players from that agency because his brother works there. Pep's brother also works for that same agency. Only one player at that agency has come to Man United. It isn't like this, we're signing all their players. None of the other players we've signed are with that agency, but Ten Hag trusts them because he feels like there are people that the club has been using historically who just try and do deals to line their pockets and not try to improve the first team. Now, that doesn't mean Ten Hag can't make mistakes. He is not impervious to that criticism. But what my club does, and our owners do it and the fans back it, when your manager, who's the best in the world right now, signed Bravo as a dud, signed fullbacks that didn't quite work, midfielders didn't quite work, your fans and your club said, fair enough, let's bring somebody else in better. You're limiting the managers to 3 main signings a summer. And the fans are getting angry every time they buy a dud saying he's got to be held accountable. Let's get rid of him. There will be no improvement. The main focus and the main issue should always be removing the people that run our club, because this would be the 5th full-time manager failing on the bounce and the 6th failure on the bounce if you include Ragnick, who spent 6 to 7, 8 months here at the football club. And for me, I'm just seeing the same patterns over and over and over again. And I know you don't care. You're a City fan. You'll be enjoying watching this. But at the same time, as you say, 50 people standing outside the megastore is ridiculous. It's never going to change anything. We have just gone and signed. We are the biggest team in the world still. We've been crap for 10 years. And we have just gone and signed the biggest new manufacturer and the biggest new shirt sponsorship deal in the history of English football. Do you know why? Because our delusional, absolutely hypocritical fan base keep buying the products. There's a guy that's been tweeting all over the international break how much of a parasites the Glazers are. First game back, I see him tweeting, I'm so glad to be home. There he is with his megastore bag. I'm like, how mad, how strange is that? Honestly, I try not to speak about it because I don't care about losing followers per se. Man United fans hate being called out for their responsibility in this situation. We have to boycott financially and threaten them with further boycotts if they don't sell. Again, they're eventually going to sell the club. It will eventually happen. It hasn't been taken off the market like the rumors suggested. But it's just sacking Ten Hag is a short-term fix. It's like taking a painkiller to get rid of the headache, but when what you really got wrong with you is a brain tumor. It's literally just kicking the can down the street. And until every single Man United fan wakes up, every single big Man United fan channel says this. I'm talking, listen, I don't like that. No, I'm not even going to say it because it's going to cause a beef. So it's going to cause the beef. I'm going to say it off camera. I can't. But people have access now to the players, to the managers, and they still don't ask questions about this sort of stuff. Why?
They won't, because they want their own channel to do well. They want their own channel to do well. They don't give a shit. They're not proper. They're just there for views, likes, money. At the end of the day, football club, if you love your football club, you get involved and you sort it out. There's people in the chat going, 115 charges. Yeah, we've just won the treble. We've got 115 charges. You've got a fucking bucket off the Glazers and your ground stinks of piss. You know what I mean? So, you know, don't worry about us and our charges. We'll sort them out in court. Even if Manchester City got found guilty and relegated to League Two, we'd still be in a better position than them. Still be in a better position than United. People are just too busy telling everyone how great and big Man United are, but they're doing nothing about it. People took the piss out of Saeed, yeah, for trying to do something. But you've got to respect him. At least he tried to do something. He stood there in the rain and sleet and snow because he loves Man United Football Club.
Yep.
And it might not have worked, but he stood there and he's got his heart's in the right place. But these Glazers and all that, you know, people just see, oh, well, they're spending money. They're not spending money. They're spending money on the squad. They've spent nothing on the academy, nothing on the stadium, nothing on the infrastructure around Old Trafford. It's just falling apart right in front of the fans' eyes. But they'd rather tell me that Manchester is red than fix it. Go fix it.
Do you know what's crazy? I said the other day to people, everyone's free to type what they want. Everybody's free to have their own opinion. But the 115 charges is such dead banter now. Until it's proven, it's
I love
dead.
It. I love it.
Yeah, you do. I find it embarrassing now. I look at it as it almost means
all they've got, Terry. That's all they've got. That's all they've got. They're praying that Man City get charged with something, because if they don't, they're going to realise that shit, Manchester City are just fucking better than us, and our team are really shit. So that's what they're praying for. It's the last hope of in the football world that Man City are guilty. But if they're not, then that's it. It's game over. Man City's just ruining football. We're taking you apart on and off the pitch. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, mate, no one's catching us, mate. We ain't going nowhere.
Mate, we ain't catching you at all until things change. And listen, as I say, if people have access to the club, I understand they'll be restricted to things they can't say, and they're making a business decision which best serves their family, and I absolutely respect it to that point. I just don't want to hear any Glazer talk at other times from individuals like that, because I feel like you've made your bed and you have to lie in it. Like, I had an argument not long ago with my eldest son got bought a Man United kit because he'd been asking for one by his family in Ireland, and he's got it and he's wearing it, and he doesn't live with me. He lives in Ireland, as everybody knows, and I'm fuming because I'm like, I just don't want. I can't. By the way, I can't control what another family does. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I'm not Don Corleone. It is what it is. And they're like, "Why are you so angry?" I'm like, I don't want anyone giving money to this club. Like, my kid don't. Now my little boy Jackson's like, "Well, Archie's got one. Can I have one?" I'm like, no. It's called Richards in my house. That's probably more what I was annoyed about. I just feel like Man United fans have got to practice what we preach, and I know it's hard. Genuinely,
and it won't, because if you stop buying shirts, Dave across the road, who's a knobhead from London that's never been to Old Trafford, he'll buy 4 shirts for his family. So that's what you're up against.
Yeah, but do you know what I think, though, Steve? Like, on a real level, I hear that a lot. I really think if the big influential fan channels, the guys that run all the fanzines in Manchester, and then there are certain, I know one calls them top reds, I don't really like the expression, but there are certain match-going Man United fans who carry so much weight and influence. And if they all took a stance and put it out publicly that, please, everybody, boycott this, please, everybody, don't buy this, please, everybody, refrain from doing this, look, you wouldn't change it a snap of the fingers, but I do believe you'd create a ripple effect. How do I know this? I'm tiny in comparison to these individuals. I must have had, Steve, in the last year, I'm being conservative when I say 500, but either replies or DMs from people saying, I've listened to you, or I already boycotted, but you've made me believe it's the right thing. And I feel like those 500 people easily have influenced at least one other person. So suddenly, and if those 500, it's a ripple effect. It's small and often, and that's what we need to do. What I don't like is this excuse of, well, there's no point me not buying a kit because I'm not going to be able to stop some dude in Australia or some dude in America from buying a kit. And that attitude to me is, well, you can still do your bit. You can still influence. If I can influence 10, if every Man United fan could influence 5 other Man United fans to not buy a kit, to not spend money at the ground. I'm not even saying give your tickets up straight away. Maybe the first step is you don't spend any money at the ground when you're there. No programs, no scarves, no drinks. You know, whatever it is, you don't spend. That would damage them by millions of pounds a year. Look at the new shirt sponsor we got. We only get that because of how many shirts we sell. Even if we reduced the number by 30 or 40%, the club wouldn't get all of that money in because they have to hit certain widgets every single year. So you don't even need everybody, Steve, to take part in this, which is why I was very disappointed that my eldest was bought a Man United kit. In fairness, like the people banter you because every Christmas, one of my brothers who supports Liverpool buys me a Man United kit, which of course I don't wear. I throw it away, and they just say they do it because they want to keep funding the Glazers, which is what it is. It's because I speak about it publicly, and you'll get a bit of that. But look, I hear with you. When it comes to Man United, we can criticize everything wrong Ten Hag does. We can blame him for everything that's currently going wrong at Manchester United. But when it comes to fixing us to the medium to long term, sacking him will have zero impact on that. How do I know? I've got 10 years of proof and 5 previous examples of doing exactly what Man United fans are calling for now, and it hasn't worked. So for me, having 10 years of a 10-year body of work, a 10-year case study of doing exactly what certain Man United fans are demanding now, not working, versus what I've been asking for 10 years that nobody's tried yet. My action is the only thing we haven't tried. And they tell me it won't work. But yet all their methods have been tried and tested, and we're still fucking here. That's the matter. In my personal opinion, Steve, most people don't have the stomach to truly sacrifice. And I said before, maybe what we also all have to do is all stop covering Man United. No transfer news, no match reactions, no watch-alongs, completely boycott everything. And maybe that's the end result. But the only way it works is if everybody starts doing it. And you start small and you work up to it and you escalate these things. And I'm up for doing whatever it takes. But I need people to buy in with me. But as I say, I don't think people are prepared to make personal sacrifice for the betterment of their club. Because for a lot of people, they don't love the club that deeply. They like Man United. They're fans of Man United, but they're not supporters of the club. They don't care. That's just my opinion. And by the way, that's not aimed at any YouTuber. That's just a general take on Man United fans, personally. And by the way, I don't think other clubs are too different. I don't think other clubs are too different. I think a lot of Liverpool, there'll be a lot of Newcastle, there'll be a lot of Arsenal, that in those moments where it's crap, I like that. Newcastle fans could have done a lot more to get Mike Ashley out, but they didn't. Could have done a lot more. But yeah, look, that's just me. I'm going to stop ranting about it now because it does my brain in.
There's people watching YouTube channels of United fans jumping around with fake anger when United go 2-3-0 down. And they're laughing at that person when your team are getting fucking hammered. So it's like me watching a City YouTube channel and laughing me bollocks off when City are getting beat 3-0 and saying he's great him. And he great him. You know, he's crying in his bedroom. He's fucking great him. My team's getting walloped 3-0, but he's mint. What planet do you live on there with that? Do you know what I mean? And if you can't clock that them people are knobs and they're just there running. They used to criticise AFTV for when Arsenal were getting beat all the time. Oh, you're profiting off our demise. Well, there's a lot of Man United ones now profiting off Man United's demise. There's a lot of Man United YouTubers out there that are doing fuck all to help this club, support this club or nothing except jump around in bedrooms while people go, he's great, him and he's great. And that's what I love about it, yeah? Because I'm a Man City fan and I'm positive and I will not spread any shit about my club. And that's why my fans love me. That's why me as a YouTube Man City fan can walk to any stadium and walk to any Man City home game and get love. And there's certain ones sat in the bedroom that can't go anywhere near Old Trafford because they get filled in. And that's the difference. So ask yourselves why. But this is it. I love it. Keep doing it. Keep doing it.
Again, I got no issue with people expressing their frustration about the club. And I think that if you guys have a downturn in the next decade and end up where Man United are, you will have fans online angry, frustrated.
I won't be watching them. I won't be watching them.
No, and I appreciate that you won't be doing it. I think people should be expressing themselves. And Carl B here says, why don't you start it off then, Terry? As I say, I think I have already started it off. I gave up my 2 season tickets. I've stopped buying merchandise. I've advocated for others to do it. What I've also said in many videos is I don't expect a complete blackout day one. I don't even think that needs to happen. I think you create, and I don't like this word, but manifesto. You get fan groups, fan channels all come together and work. And by the way, Carl, I've DM'd all of them saying we should do this. Only one, and that was Alice Talks Football, agreed to do it for one reason or another. And it was all very respectful. It was all very polite, but only Alice Talks Football was the only Man United fan who agreed to do this, who has kind of influence and has channels and followers and a platform. And I said, and my idea to them was, and I've said it on videos, this wasn't what I said to them personally, we can start off small. Maybe it's small things we boycott. Maybe it is the shirt that's being launched. And then maybe we threaten down the line. If by these dates, things don't happen, we'll advocate for no one buying stuff on match days. Then after that, it will be certain percentage are going to cancel this. Then it might be cancelling MUTV. Then it might be season tickets. And at the same time as that, we might stop doing certain Man United content. Like you can build up to this. And I don't even think it would have to go that far. But it needs to be tried and attempted if the Glazers don't sell. Because if they're only here for money and our current actions are leading to bigger and bigger sponsorship deals and just as many people going to games, I don't see the motivation for them to leave. We have to make the money dry up. We have to make the valuation of the football club start to diminish. We have to get sponsors and TV companies to put pressure. I mean, one of the ideas could be, listen, if you don't sell, we're going to do everything in our power legally each game to get games called off. Sky Sports and TNT Sports will be knocking on the Glazers' door saying, what the hell are you doing? Because they won't be able to afford for those games not to go ahead. There are so many things we can do. And I'm all up, Carl B, for helping. I have started this, though. I'm already there. This is Terry. You can't complain to others about being miserable about their club when you are openly admitting you are not going to games because you are not happy with the way they are. I'm not going to. It's not about not winning games. I can stomach Man United not being the best team. I don't think we have a divine right to win. What I cannot do is believe that the Glazers only own my football club to make money and they don't care about the football and then still give them money. Does that make sense? You can't be someone that complains about animal welfare whilst buying eggs from cage hens. You can't be a vegan whilst wearing leather shoes. You can't be an activist for global warming whilst driving a car that drinks fuel, having boats, flying around the world all the time and burning plastic in your back garden. You see my point? I can't give money to the organization, to the people that run my club who only care about making money. So there's a fundamental difference between that and somebody kicking off about Arsenal almost having their best start to a Premier League season ever. There's a fundamental difference. I know you're talking about Lee there, my friend. So yeah, I hear you. And by the way, I've said it before. Everyone's free to support Man United however they want. I'm not attacking them personally. It's not a dig. Do your thing. I'm not angry at you individually, but just don't expect change if you're not willing to sacrifice. Because at the end of the day, they're going to sell when they're ready and they're going to make more and more. They might even sell one day, Steve, but I just want to stop them from making so much money. If we can stop them making 8 billion, if we can get it down to 5 billion, that's better than getting 8. They're going to get loads of money. I want to do something to hurt them in some way, shape or form. Terry, do you have mods in the chat? Disgraceful comments by some of the audience. Big up, Steve. I haven't seen the... But there should be mods in the comment section. We have loads of mods on the channel, but ignore people saying nasty things. It's the best way to make them go away, to be honest with you, is to not give them any oxygen. And blocking them or putting them in a timeout gives them oxygen. They set up new accounts and come back. I got noticed. So if you ignore them, they go away quicker than blocking them. Never give oxygen to trolls as they just come back. Ignore them completely all the time. This here from Z says, if City got relegated and sanctioned, you won't be in a better situation than United. Don't be delusional, Big Steve, but City are clear of my crap club.
Do you know why we would be in a better position, yeah? So what? We're going to get relegated and sanctioned, yeah? Our academy's miles better than yours. The stadium's better than yours. The team's better than yours. So if we get relegated and everyone fucks off, we get loads of money again. We'll just play the academy team. We'll win League One. We'll win the Championship. We'll come back. And when we come back, you still wouldn't have won the Premier League. You still wouldn't have won any trophies. And then we'll buy a load of new players and we'll be better than you again. And our ground roof isn't leaking. It doesn't stink a piss. And so 2-3 year break, Man City will be sweet. So that's why we're better than you, because we'll be back rapid. You'll still be up there fighting amongst yourselves, not winning out. Innit? Take Man City out the Premier League. Man United ain't winning it.
I would, if we run how we run now for the next, say you get relegated end of the season, kicked out the league, put down to League Two, I would hazard a guess in the next 6 years, you would have more chance of winning a Premier League than Man United. If you had your owners still, and we have our owners still, you'd get promoted, and probably win one before we would. Genuinely, I believe that. Genuinely.
I genuinely do. That's why I said it. But they don't understand these.
No, I agree. On tonight's game, how do you see this panning out? I know you said earlier they'll get beat. How do you see it going personally? I
think they get beat. I don't know. I just feel that I feel that if United scored first, they might get they might hold on and get something. But I think United are in that position now. As soon as the opposition score, I think a lot of heads go down. I think the place is toxic at the minute. And that's what I worry. I don't see anybody, if they get a goal behind in Bayern Munich, who's going to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and say, come on, lads, we can do this. I don't see that. So I expect them to get beat. I don't know. I knew Brighton had beat them. I seen Brighton the other week playing football, and I thought, I seen Wolves run through United like they were a knife through butter. And I thought Brighton will cut them down, no problem. And Bayern Munich away, I think Kingsley Coman and that's fit. When we played them, we had to be very careful because on the counter attack they were solid. They were on us. I just think they kill United tonight. There, my opinion.
Yeah, look, I'm praying when we don't get a spanking, but I have a very horrible feeling about tonight, and a lot of that's predicated on what's going on behind the scenes, the recent run of form. The battering at home we took from Brighton, at least in terms of the scoreline. And then you look at the wafer-thin squad that we have. We have no fullback cover in case there's an injury. We have Johnny Evans as the replacement centre-back if anything goes wrong. It's so threadbare. As I say, 11 players out for one reason or another. 50% of what would be the main starting lineup under the manager, including the new signings, because he wanted Amrabat all summer. We know he wanted Mount. These guys would be in and around this first team if they were available. Varane, look, and Varane, Amrabat, Mount, Mainu could all be back for the weekend. So it's not like those guys are going to be out for weeks and weeks and weeks from this point. But in terms of tonight's game, it's a wafer-thin squad. And the only reason, in my opinion, Munich didn't beat you in the first leg last season in the Champions League is they had no goal scorer. Harry Kane's there now. The chances they created, if two or three like that fall to Harry Kane, he's bagging goals tonight. And if we are not careful and if we let our heads drop, if we concede first, we honestly could ship 4, 5, 6 goals tonight, which is just, again, going to throw more fuel onto the fire, going to make more problems for the manager. That's where everybody's attention is going to go. And we're going to lose our minds as a fan base again. And we're going to start asking and calling for things that are not actually going to fix the team and the football club in the medium to long term. So I have a horrible... I'm probably going to watch the game under a towel. I'm going to put a towel over the TV, and every 5 minutes, I'm going to put something else on like Luther. And every 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just lift it up and see what the score is, I think. That's probably the best thing for me to do. Yeah, I've got, it sounds horrible to say, but I've got almost zero confidence that we can win tonight. And I hate being that pessimistic as a Man United fan, but I feel like I'm being realistic at the same time. If we do win or pick up a positive result, it would be absolutely fantastic. And hopefully we could galvanize from that and grow from it. And I want it. And listen, I'm supporting the boys and I'm going to will them to win as best I can. But I just can't see it. I cannot see for love nor money how this current traveling squad beats one of the top 2, top 3 favorites to win the Champions League in their ground with our current form. I just can't see it personally, mate. Can't see it.
If you lose tonight and then lose at Burnley at weekend, is he gone him or what?
I think. Do you know what's funny? I could understand why you would sack him. If the dressing room is gone, doesn't matter how much I rate a manager. If a dressing room goes, I think you have to get rid of them. But the Glazers being the Glazers and our owners and board being what they are, even if he has lost a dressing room, they'll still leave it 2 or 3 months before they act. They always do. They always do. Now, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should not have lasted until the late October, November that season. He should have been gone 2 or 3 months earlier. Jose should have gone in the summer, but they waited until the December. So it might be the final straw in terms of, it might be the beginning of the end, but I don't think they'll sack him no matter what's going on. Does that make sense? Even if they should, I don't think they will, because they're incompetent as the day is long. They're incompetent, these guys. But I think if we lose the next 2 games, especially if we're embarrassed tonight, I think there'll be enough Man United fans turn, the media going at him, share price plummeting, opportunity to make hundreds of millions of pounds with a share price rise off the back of it. The Glazers may do it, you know. They may look at it and go, we can get a new manager, get the pressure off our backs, because there's always pressure off their backs when he gets sacked, because every player gets a fresh slate. The new manager's got these ideas. Man United fans, we are like, we get titter painted. We get titter painted. We get kind of hoodwinked, and we're not looking at the real problem, and the Glazers get to carry on being what they are. So I wouldn't be surprised either. It wouldn't shock me if we get embarrassed in the next 2 games, but there we go. A pessimistic title, Terry. It is. I'm asking a question. Are Man United getting smashed tonight? Let us know in the comment section what you all think, people. Do you think they should sack Ten Hag if he loses the next 2 games? What's your thoughts on that?
I don't. I just don't think there's anyone else out there who's going to take that job for the right reasons. I just think Ten Hag's in there now. He knows what it's about. He's not a bad manager. I think he's one of the best they've had for a while. I think they've just got to stick with him. We know it's under difficult conditions, so it's not even a managerial problem. I don't think he's doing anything too wrong. I just think he's working under mad constraints. You can only sign this player on loan. You can only get this on loan. So he's probably got his hands tied a bit. So I just think United fans have got to realise that. But there'll be some that will be calling him out. They lose 3 on the bounce. People will be moaning. But no, I think he's the most important piece at the minute, where you've got a chance of actually getting it right. But there's a lot of problems there. A lot.
I agree. I wouldn't sack him personally right now. I've been thinking about it a lot the last few days. I still have faith in him as a manager. I still think he could do a very good job. We still haven't seen a single game this season, which includes all of these new signings, with all, or if not the majority of his signings from last year. We haven't seen that yet. So there's things we haven't seen. We've got 11 players out injured, which I think is, listen, City fans and the media kind of supported the notion that when Laporte got injured all those seasons ago now, that was the reason why you couldn't keep up with Liverpool. Liverpool fans, they fell off in the season because they had an injury to Van Dijk, and that injury to Van Dijk was so significant, it stopped them from winning the league title. So I don't think it's unfair to say that having 11 players and 50% of your first team out injured for the majority of the opening 4 to 5 games of the Premier League, I don't think that it's unfair to say that once players come back, I think we can improve. I would like to see is the club actually back the manager. And straight away, when you say back the manager, people say, but he's had 400 million. I'm not talking financially per se. I mean, they've also had to loan a lot of his signings as well because of holes, but I'm talking about back him through the turmoil of these player concerns. Back him publicly when it comes to, somebody, if he goes into a room and says, look, these 3 players are refusing to train, let the manager handle it how he wants to, no matter what the media says, no matter what his detractors in the media say. No manager at the club has had the full backing of the board, especially through turmoil. They've all had some, like he got backed with the Ronaldo situation, but you have to keep doing it. You have to keep backing them, no matter how good or how bad the situation or the optics look at time. I would actually like to see us do that because, again, I said earlier, the fans have done all these different things to get rid of the Glazers and nothing's worked. The one thing they refuse to do is the one thing I believe would work. Equally, we've sacked managers, we've kept some too long, we've done all these different things. But one thing we've never done is back to manager who we believe, and even the people that are now calling him Ten Hag out, only 6 months ago were talking about him as being a great manager. We never ride through the rough times with anyone. We always have a knee-jerk reaction based on what the media fans are saying and what money they can make on the stock market. So I would stick with him for now, even if he loses the next couple of games. Stick with him. Show the players that you are not in control and the manager of Man United is, and we've got his back. And maybe, just maybe, we can buck a trend. Maybe, just maybe, we can get things back on track. But sacking another manager at this stage, I just think it's throwing good money after bad, really, mate. That's what I think.
I agree.
Some super chats here. Perfect time to ask this, Tell. Somebody calls me Tell. It's rare that, but thank you. First of all, big up to TFT. Love the show. Been on here for the past 3 years. What do you think of Trossard for Havertz in AF11? What does AF11 mean?
Arsenal's first 11.
Oh, Arsenal's first 11. There we go. Yeah, I mean, for me, I actually think that Fabio Vieira came in and did a very good job for him. I think Trossard, you could definitely look at starting him. I think he's a very, very talented player indeed. What have you made of Arsenal's start to the season? And do you think they're ready, Steve, for the Champions League, Premier League combination ahead?
Who, Arsenal?
Yeah.
What, are they ready for both?
Yeah, to compete in both and do well in both in your eyes.
I don't know. They only had the Premier League last year, and they didn't do that. So they said they were going to. Oh, we got one comp and City are in everything, and they're going to struggle. I think they find it tough. They struggled when they were in the Europa League. They got knocked out of Sporting Lisbon, I believe. They'll beat PSV tonight. I think PSV are okay, but they'll beat them tonight. And I don't know. I think when it gets later on in the competition and FA Cup, things like that start kicking in, that's when you mean.
Yeah, I mean, I'm intrigued to watch them. I mean, I think they're better this season than they were last year. I think they look more controlled. I think they're leaking less opportunities on goal. If they beat Spurs at the weekend, and I mean, Spurs fans are very, very adamant they're going to win. The majority that have been on the terrace have all stated, we will beat Arsenal at the Emirates. Our football's too good. We're better than them this year. 5 games in, and I think Postecoglou's doing a good job. But I think Arsenal will win that match, which actually means that in their opening 6 games, it's actually points-wise 1 point better than they were last year. And some of their fans have been kicking off so much about how poor a start to the campaign it has been. I don't think it has been at all. I actually like how they look more reserved. They look a little bit more controlled, as I say. And it's like every game doesn't feel like it's frenetic. And it reminds me more of Man City. It reminds me more of you. I think your football so far this season has been better than them. But you guys just tend to start off a little slower, a little bit more conservative, reserving that energy for later on in the season and picking things up when it matters. And they're not at your level yet. They're not, because of your consistency and what you've achieved and what you have won and that winning mentality that is bred from that. And of course, your manager is not just the best in the world. He's definitely in the top 3 managers of all time. And probably, as much as I love Fergie, could go down as the greatest ever. And it's actually nice, by the way, to hear Pep this week when he was asked that question. Basically, I think he said Johan Cruyff.
It was Cruyff.
Fergie and somebody else. He just said, those guys are the greatest. And it was kind of nice to hear, because there's a lot of nonsense said about Fergie in the last few years by pundits, not even by City fans, by pundits, about how Fergie weren't even that good. And it made me feel a little bit sick. It really did. It was like, how can you even have that opinion? And City fans, young City fans might not get this, but in 20 years' time, if someone tries saying that about Pep, you'll get it. But yeah, I think Arsenal got a really good chance in the Champions League this year. They're not in the top 2 or 3 favourites, but I've put them in that, what I call the underclass. So I think you're the outright favourites to win it, because I think you're the best team in the world by a country mile. Then I've got Bayern and Real Madrid that are like the next 2. And then under that, I've got Arsenal, Napoli, PSG, and there's another team. I now forget who they are. Who were they? I was thinking about them yesterday. There's somebody else. But I put all those teams kind of in that category, because they don't really have a huge Champions League pedigree, but they are very good teams. Does that make sense? And they could do some damage in this tournament. So, yeah, I'm going to be intrigued to see how they handle it, how the manager rotates, because the Europa League's so hard to judge, because he'd rotate so many players for those games. You're never going to do that in the Champions League, if that makes sense. No,
you're not. You've got to get a fine balance and that's what Pep's good at. See, last season, Haaland get a hat-trick, takes him off, everyone's going mad. And it's like, it's not about that. You know what I mean? It's about getting the job done, not about personal things. Get players rested. Rodri plays a lot of minutes. Soon as he gets a chance to replace him, give him a break. Gundogan last year as well. And I believe Pep's got that squad rotation and management off to a T. And I think City are very good at it. Arteta's got to do the same. You know, the problem is when you do it and it backfires and you lose, everyone goes mad because they say you should be playing your best team. But it don't work like that. If you've got the eye on other things, and there'll come a point in the season, he might be at a bit of a crossroads. If they're in all competitions, you might have to prioritise one or two over another one, and that's when you get the problem. I've seen it before. City's gone into an FA Cup semi-final against Liverpool one year, but we had Real Madrid on the Tuesday. So we had to put a weekend side out at Wembley. We got beat. It's not ideal, but it is what it is. We sacrificed it and we had to go for Real Madrid. But I don't know. Arsenal are I think that they're just happy they're in it. I've seen loads of jazz on social media today. I've seen like announcement videos and that. I thought they'd signed Mbappe, but it was just a video telling everyone Arsenal were back in the Champions League. So I thought that was a bit weird. But yeah, let's see.
Yeah, they're going to be an interesting one. And what do you make of the weekend? Because Spurs fans are very confident going into this game, the North London derby. I think Arsenal fans have almost been a bit reserved on the conversation because they've got this Champions League game ahead. How do you see the North London derby going?
I think Tottenham fans are confident because, that Harry Kane's gone now. They're not that team anymore, the Harry Kane team. They're their own team. Ange's playing his own football. But it's early days, you know what I mean? Arsenal are a good side. We've seen Arsenal against Fulham struggle, but we've seen Tottenham at weekend. They played good football, but they were 1-0 down to Sheffield United for a long time. If they're 1-0 down to Arsenal, they don't claw that back late. You know what I mean? So it'd be interesting to see. I'm just going to watch it as a neutral. Obviously, I've got a lot of friends at Arsenal. I've got a lot of friends at Tottenham. So I'm just going to sit down and watch it and see where both the teams are at. But I wouldn't even like to predict it, to be honest.
I hear you. I hear where you're coming from. I agree. I get why Spurs fans are confident. Do you think what you're seeing with Spurs, do you think it's sustainable and they're going to grow from this? Or do you believe maybe Spurs are getting a little bit ahead of themselves in terms of how good they really are?
They've not had a lot to share about Tottenham, to be honest. They've had Mourinho, they had Conte. I mean, so they're probably just feeling a bit refreshed that they're seeing decent football. They probably thought, Harry Kane's gone, this could be a shit show. But it hasn't. It's been pleasantly okay. So I know that Ange managed Yokohama Marinos in Japan, and they were City's team. We bought them. And he was in the City group, and I know a lot of people at the club were saying how good of a manager he was and how good of a guy and his philosophy he was and that. He went to Celtic. I know you can't judge it by Celtic, but he did okay. And I think a few Tottenham fans wasn't overly keen when he joined because they said, oh, he's not this big name and he's doing it at Celtic, but he didn't do it, here, there. But the guy's a breath of fresh air. I like him. I think he speaks a lot of sense. I think he's got his philosophy on the team early doors. They're playing good football. A couple of players have been rejuvenated. That's the sign of a good manager when you see players that you thought were finished all of a sudden get a new lease of life. That's when you know that he's brought something extra to the club. He's brought something that we can't see. So the training might have been a bit stale. The club might have been a bit, not a great place to work. He looks like he's come in there. You've seen him in press conferences, you've seen him turn up in interviews, and he's quite positive and that. And fair play to him, you know what I mean? Fair play to him. But Arsenal at the Emirates, it's not an easy place to go. It's a derby as well. I'm actually just looking forward to it. But I think Tottenham are on the up. I think they are on the up, and I think they've just got to be patient with him. They've got to give him the funds, and they've got to slowly build. And I think another couple of seasons, and going in the right direction, backing him the way they are, they might be there.
I agree with that. I actually think, I said to a few Spurs fans the other day, I think what you need to do is stop putting unnecessary pressure on him and your team by talking about smashing Arsenal at the Emirates or we're going to be in the title race this year. Because typically for Spurs, when things have gone wrong is when the pressure mounts. So why create a pressure cooker that the media are not putting on you, rivals are not placing on you? Just stay back in the shadows and just stay quiet. And as a kid, I remember when my dad used to have friends over. I used to love, as a kid, I don't know, about 10, 11 years old, when my dad's friends were around, they were having a few drinks, and they were just talking. I used to love sort of sitting and listening to it. But I'd always like chip in and say something or laugh at something. My dad would notice I was still up and go, right, bedtime. And then I remember he said to me once, if you just stay quiet, I wouldn't have known you were there and you'd have got to stay up longer. Sometimes in life, just keep quiet and it serves you much better than opening your mouth. There's a comment here that made me laugh, though, Steve. He's like, Terry, what were you going to say if Spurs win, Terry? Well, I'll probably say congratulations. I'll probably say well done. I'll probably say you deserved it, because normally that's the case. That's what I'll say. Amazing. You beat a fantastic team at their home ground. I'll praise them. I never not praise teams that deserve praise. What will happen with Sancho? Arsenal next? I don't see him going to Arsenal, to be fair. Tottenham and Newcastle were said to be interested. That's Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund as well, but that was pushed down. The German press today have said that's not true. So I doubt it will be Arsenal, personally. I think
he needs a manager that is going to spend a bit of time with him. He's obviously got problems off the field. He needs somebody that's going to put their arm around him and look after him, because we know he's a fantastic player, but there's just something not right there, and he's got to pick his next club very carefully, because the people around him need to choose the right path for him to go on, because at the minute he's well off it, and that's good. We need him for England because he was fantastic for England. We need him back in the Premier League, but Man United's not the club for him. It's not worked out there. I think that relationship's gone. He needs to go somewhere and just get back on football, focus on football. But I think he's a deeper rooted problem from just football. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. Yeah,
I hear you. And I hope him. I wish him all the best. Personally, I want him to do well. I want him to perform. I want him to deliver. I really do. I just don't personally see it being at Man United. I actually think he needs to leave the UK. I think he'll do better in an environment where there's less attention on him, personally. But there we go. Did you guys hear what Ollie said? Yeah, we spoke. A7K. We spoke about it earlier on in the show today, so you can go back and watch the playback later. Debbie here. Thank you again for another super chat, Debbie. She says, "Hey Terry, sorry I wasn't feeling myself yesterday from the loss of my great grandma. Very, very sorry to hear that. Commiserations to you. But I'm okay now. Does Man United have a chance? There's always a chance. To quote Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber." So there is a chance. There is a small, slim chance that Man United win tonight, but it's a very small and very slim one as far as I am concerned myself. But there we go. Yeah, I don't see us being able to win. I hate being pessimistic, but it's the way it is. I did want to ask you about Chelsea as well today, because have you seen that stat? 39 points from their last 37 games. They say 40 points is the target. So if they get a point in the next match, they've just done enough in the last 38 games to not get relegated. I don't know if you've looked at it, but their next run of Premier League games, Steve, is interesting to say the least, right? Let me just get this up on my screen here, because I'm not even trying here to make them panic or worry. But I know what your thoughts are on the manager, right? But they go home to Villa, away to Fulham, away to Burnley, home to Arsenal, home to Brentford, away to Tottenham, home to City, away to Newcastle, home to Brighton, away to Manchester United. That takes them up to the 6th of December. I think away to Burnley haven't been that good since they've come up. They haven't clicked yet. But all the other games, I honestly don't. If they don't start scoring, if they don't score, of course they're not going to win. That's like a moronic thing to say. But they could go a long time without winning. They really could.
Yeah, see, the Premier League's not. It's not forgiving, is it? You know what I mean? The one thing they need is time, because putting all them players together, he needs to get it to gel. You see glimpses every now and then in the game where you think, yeah, they look all right. But then I don't know about Jackson up front. I don't know about him. I'll be honest. I've watched him a few times. I didn't want to say much about him, but I don't know if he's the answer. I think Chelsea need a striker desperately, because I don't know. Like I said last show, when I speak about Chelsea, I just don't have any feelings there, because I honestly don't know what the answer is. I know that they've thrown a lot of good players together. They've got a manager that everyone keeps telling me is great with young kids, but that's about it. And so I don't know. We'll see at the end of the season with Chelsea for me. But so far, for that kind of level of investment, it's not doing what it should, and people are letting them off. If Man United wasn't in such a sad state, everyone would be on them. like fuck. They'll be on Chelsea. But because United are just like the new circus that's rolled into town, everyone's sat watching that. But if United can level off and start putting some results together, the next target is Chelsea, because it ain't good over there at the minute.
You are right. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I mean, this shows you the difference in size, and this isn't a dig. I just Googled Manchester United, 14.1 billion results in 0.59 seconds. Chelsea, when you search that, 226 million. So the difference in terms of just people Googling and looking and the content that's out there, it probably is helping Chelsea at the moment that Man United are struggling, because otherwise they'd be the only member of the traditional Big Six that were really going through it. What's interesting is in the summer, I saw Spurs playing good football, and that has continued into the season. I thought Chelsea looked pretty good at times in pre-season. I was impressed with them. And it hasn't really, they played well against Liverpool and didn't win. They played well in moments against West Ham and got beat. They were good against Luton. But then against Forest and against Bournemouth, the best team, but just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. Again, I'm a Man United fan, so I'm not worried on a personal level. But when I'm talking football, if they suddenly drop more points to Villa, get knocked out by Brighton in the League Cup, which is in the midweek game, go away to Fulham, their local rivals, and lose, they might then beat Burnley. After the Burnley game, they play Arsenal, Brentford, Tottenham, They could lose those 4 games on the bounce if they're not scoring goals. My worry is that more and more confidence gets sapped from these young players. Last season's poor form after the sacking of Tuchel has continued into this year. And if you suddenly get towards December and you haven't improved on that, there is a fundamental chance that you just don't get out of that rut. The fans will turn on the manager. They've already started to do that. There'll be no time and patience given. These young players will just be with no elder statesmen around them, not enough elder statesmen around them to lead them. I'm not saying they're in big trouble right now, because they could win the next 2 or 3 games, turn things around. The young players come alive. Poch gets his football going, and they look great. I would be worried, though, if I was a Chelsea fan. There would be a part of me that would just be a little bit worried, because it's starting to look like last year again. And maybe this isn't an issue with managers. I'm talking about my club. To go through maybe 3 managers in a year when the same issues are persisting, it tells you there's something deeper. There's a deeper rooted problem than maybe some of us have given Chelsea's managers or ex-managers credit for, if that makes sense. But yeah, look, they could win some of those games. They could win 3 or 4 of them, and suddenly you're thinking, okay, Chelsea are on their way to being back. But those games are tough. And that's why when you get Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest back-to-back, you've got to win them, because they're the gimmies. And if you're not winning the gimmies, those other games, there's so much more pressure on them. And like right now, honestly, if I'm doing a prediction, I think Villa beat them at the weekend. I really do think Villa will beat them. And that's not me trying to be salty. I just look at Villa, who, look, they're not been... It's just... Villa are so much better than Forest and Bournemouth, if that makes sense. You know, they've got 3 wins this season. They're sitting 7th in the league, you know, and they've played well in a few games. Battered Palace, battered Burnley, battered Everton. Yes, they got smashed. They've been beaten convincingly twice themselves by really good teams. But Chelsea are not a really good team anymore. It's they play Sunday, 2:00. It's going to be a real tough one for them. Real tough one. It's time.
They're in a sort of situation where Arsenal was a few years ago, where it was like, you know, they're on the verge of panicking again. I think I can see it now. You know what I mean? If they lose another 2 or 3 games, will Todd Bowley panic? Because they panicked with Graham Potter, so they could panic with him. I don't think changing the manager is the answer. I think he's brought in, I said it before, a lot of players. He needs time. Time is the key. And I think if the Chelsea fans accept that and think, you know what, we might have another season where we're mid-table, but then next season is the one. There's no excuses, and I think that's what it is. I think a lot of Chelsea fans, they're not as bad as like Arsenal fans and that, or Tottenham fans, where they'd be demanding stuff. I think Chelsea can be. Some of them can be realistic. They look at the club, it's a massive change from Roman days. The money's been spent, but it's the rest of the football world that should be on the neck going, hold on a minute, you spent £1 billion. You can't be telling us you need time, because if City spent another bill, or Newcastle went and spent $1 billion and was ending up like this, they'd be calling for them. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. But yeah, I think Chelsea are just at the minute. It's time, get the players gelling, but I think they're short of a striker.
Yeah, putting that, but again, I do agree. I think it's putting the ball in the back of the net, and they have the same issue Man United have got now. When something goes wrong in the game, those heads drop, the shoulders go down, they all stop. They stop playing to a certain degree, and we've seen that now. 3 managers running. That's a problem that's in that dressing room that so far Poch hasn't got out. And I really did believe. I know that you're not the biggest Poch fan, nor am I, in terms of getting teams over that line. But I really felt that he would have got their confidence back in them, got the blood back in their leg, got them moving the ball well. The way Anne just kind of turned the football around at Tottenham, I expected to see that from Poch. I really did.
Do you know what as well, yeah? There's a lot of managers who are still in jobs because there's nobody else out there good enough. And that's the truth. You look now, there's a distinctive lack of good managers across Europe. If Man United sack Ten Hag tomorrow, realistically, yeah, who'd he get in? If Chelsea sack Poch tomorrow, realistically, who'd he get in? There's only De Zerbi at Brighton, who everybody rates, who we've been down this road before. He'd be mad to jump ship now because he's creating something at Brighton. Potter was in the same boat as De Zerbi. Everybody was raving about him. He jumped ship. Look at him now. He's in no man's land. And I think that's what you do, to be having meetings at boardrooms saying, right, okay, we've lost 3 games. Should we sack him? Well, yeah, but who are we going to go for? And then you look at the ones, but you look at the level of management around, and there's literally like nobody there. There's nobody there.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, when you think about realistically, Zidane don't want to come and live and work in England. Why is Ancelotti going to quit Real Madrid? He's not going to do it for Chelsea or for Man United. Diego Simeone, again,
he never leaves.
He wouldn't leave. He's someone that maybe you could tempt. But outside of those managers, who is a proven elite manager that you go, I think we definitely improve under him? And a lot of people are saying De Zerbi. Chelsea right now, that they're trying to build something. But the way Chelsea are run right now, their infrastructure, the harmony internally, Man United internally, Brighton a better run club. Brighton pound for pound.
There's no pressure on De Zerbi. There was no pressure on Potter at Brighton, right? So they can relax. If they lose a game, relax. If they want to try something in a game and it doesn't work, relax. Go to Man United, go to Chelsea, lose a game, pressure. Try something in a game, get beat, pressure. Shit's hit the fan. I've lost 2, lose 3, you're out. And that's the problem. And that's why these managers like you as Potter now, you're probably thinking, worst thing he ever did, leave Brighton, because he was comfortable there. But De Zerbi would be mad. He's creating something special at Brighton. They're playing great football. He gets his best players took off him every season. The big clubs come, they grab Caicedo, Cucurella, all these people, bang, 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 and but he's working with what he's got, and the players are believing in it. And eventually he'll be one of the top managers in the world, in my opinion. But right now, he needs to stay where he is. And looking around Europe, there's nobody that fills me full of confidence who I think, yeah, he could come to the Premier League and smash it.
Yeah, I agree with you. The pressure element is so key. I was having this conversation with my brother and his friends the other day, and that none of them support Premier League teams, and they were saying, go get De Zerbi. And a lot of them in that group were just saying, come on, this is like almost crazy talk from the perspective of you do realize the pressure, the difference. Because I truly believe if you went now with a magic wand that took every Brighton player and put them in the Man United squad and put De Zerbi as our manager and switched it round, I believe within 2 months, the Man United players that we all right now say are trash and the manager ain't good enough, they'd be playing much better football and performing better than this Man United team would be. I don't think it's as easy as just switching managers. There's key fundamental factors internally that I think need to be worked on. But as you say, there's little patience for it. We have a super chat here from Daniel that says, Big Steve, when Gomez going to get more game time?
He's only a young lad. He's not. He plays him left back sometimes, and yesterday he played a bit further field. He's very, very raw. He had a great under-21s for Spain. He's a good little player, but I don't think he gets in. My honest opinion, I don't. I think he's a bit part player at most. I think he has improved a little bit, but no. When Grealish is back, Doku, I don't think Gomez plays. I don't.
There we go. Would you guys consider Brighton as a definite top 4 contender this season? How do you see their season unfolding?
I don't think it's fair to put that pressure on them. I think they're playing well. They've got a few results. They'll have their own internal targets that De Zerbi's probably said. It might be Europa League. It might be 8th, 7th, 8th. If they get into Champions League for Brighton, it'd be fantastic. And I just enjoy watching Brighton. I enjoy watching them. I think they've got a good side, young side, and the manager. So I won't put any targets for Brighton. I just say go out there, enjoy it. One thing I noticed with Brighton, every now and then they drop a stinker and they get beat somewhere, and you think, fucking hell, Brighton got beat. But then he comes out, De Zerbi, and says, you'll see the true Brighton at weekend, like he did with Arsenal last year. And then all of a sudden, they drop a masterclass, and it's like he just every now and then they lose focus. But no, I'd just leave Brighton alone, me. But I think they're going to upset a lot of teams.
Yeah, I think. Listen, remember, top 5 teams get into the Champions League. They've got a definite chance of being a Champions League side next year. I don't even know. When did Tony Bloom? Let me Google. When did Tony Bloom take over Brighton? So he took over Brighton. He bought him in 2009 with a takeover of a local entrepreneur. I don't even know where they were back then. I have to research it. But like 2009, he came in. Where were Brighton? Let's actually Google that. What league were Brighton in 2009? I'm so intrigued to know. They were in League One. So he took them over in League One. Imagine going from 2009-10 to 13 to 14 years later being a Champions League team. That's why when Ligue 1 are potentially a Champions League team, that's why when Lee says they're a failure because they haven't won a trophy, I think to myself, I hear to a degree, pick up a trophy along the way, absolutely. But for a team to be a League One side with not even their own stadium back then, they were playing they were sharing an old athletic stadium, right? They had no stadium. If they 13 to 14 years later are a Champions League team, though that again, pound for pound, is one of the most epic rises in English football history. If they can maintain those levels, keep getting better and start adding some trophies, look, what City have done is amazing. What Man United and Liverpool, all our clubs have done is amazing. But so much of all of us has been built upon us having, at the time of our dominance, either the most or one of the most amounts of money in the league. I can't remember a time where a team has done what Brighton have done. Now, listen, Leicester come up, won a league title. That surpasses it. But the trajectory they've got is absolutely phenomenal. And there's loads more to do before they go into that category of one of the greatest underdog stories ever. But when I've heard Liverpool before talk about their underdog stories, I'm not buying it. This is an underdog. Does that make sense? Who's come from League One in 14 years. And now people are saying they could be a Champions League team. And they haven't done it with an oligarch or an American tech billionaire or money from the Middle East. To do it from a local entrepreneur, to build it that way, honestly, you could look at that pound for pound. If they make Champions League and win a few trophies, there's an argument it's one of the greatest achievements ever in English football history. If they start winning trophies as well, because the money the wage bills at mine and your club are more than they turn over in income.
Yeah, no, you're
it's
right.
Crazy.
They've done it, and that blow, they've done it well. You know what I mean? The recruitment and that, the players they pull out of nowhere, and then the way they recycle them and get money in. It must be frustrating for the supporters when you lose someone who you love watching. Saicedo and that, but you can't turn down that money. And the thing is that like Matoma and all that, where have they got him from? You know what I mean? He's just unbelievable. And it's like, fair play to Brighton. You know what I mean? I've been to Brighton last few seasons, and it's a good little setup. You know what I mean? Good little setup. And no, listen, fair play to them. I think they're doing a good job, and I think the manager's brilliant. And yeah, if they get into Europe, Champions League or something, they deserve it.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be interesting to see what happens there. Steve, it is always a pleasure, mate, to speak football with you. We'll be back next week, sure, reviewing the Premier League and everything else that's going on. Obviously, another win for your team last night. I haven't really spoke too much about City, but I just feel like it was such a comfortable and easy win. I don't know what there is to say. About it. Other than waxing lyrical over you, but there we go. But Man City, according to Richard Arnold, you're being caught up by Man United, so watch out for us. We're on our way, Steve.
Yeah, well, on that note, I know one thing. I'll go home tonight and sleep very, very well. You might not be sleeping very well after tonight.
Steve, mate, you could be right, brother. You could be right. Viewers, hit the like button for us. Please make sure you subscribe. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again soon. Remember, go and like now and bookmark ready the match reaction for tonight's Champions League football. This stream will take you to it. So go get that done now. Cheers.